Could this be more about disarming Marjorie Taylor Greene than it is about propping up Mike Johnson? Because she's essentially holding every other member hostage in that body.
She's attempting to. I don't even say her name. I try not to pay her much attention.
Will she or won't she? Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene this week promised to take up the motion to vacate for Speaker Johnson next week. Is this the right time to do that, though? And what does the Speaker think about it? Well, luckily, we know exactly what the Speaker thinks about it because he appeared on Salem News Channel's This Week on the Hill, and he addressed it head on. Here's Speaker Johnson.
This week, the Democrats said they would not be a part of facilitating the chaos that Marjorie Taylor Greene is proposing by moving a motion to vacate the chair. Your reaction to that?
Well, it surprised me. I've not had conversations, certainly haven't requested the assistance of anyone, but I'm encouraged that there are grown-ups in the room who, in both parties, who understand that these are very serious times. We don't have time for the circus atmosphere of Congress. Right. We have to get serious work done. The last time the chair was vacated, everybody will remember back in October, Congress was closed for 3 weeks. You can't operate without a speaker. And the idea that we would want to go through that again is so dangerous. I mean, imagine China moving on Taiwan while the House is closed, right. Or, one of these wars escalating. We can't do anything.
So could this be, I mean, you're a nice guy, Mr. Speaker, but could this be more about disarming Marjorie Taylor Greene than it is about propping up Mike Johnson? Because she's essentially holding every other member hostage in that body.
She's attempting to. I don't even say her name. I try not to pay her much attention. The whole objective here is to get attention. And it's a very unfortunate thing when the threshold was lowered on the motion to vacate, where any single member could bring the motion to remove a speaker at any time. It's allowed for this absurdity, and we won't have the House held hostage. I think reasonable people want to move forward.
That's what I read into this. That there is significant issues facing our country, and there are some that say, look, we're just not going to play these political games.
And that, of course, is the host of This Week on the Hill. That's Tony Perkins from Family Research Center. Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Akash, let's start with you. I mean, he does have a point. At this critical time, especially in an election year, the House will grind to a halt again. Now, frankly, I'm kind of okay with them not meddling with my life, but it also speaks of Republicans' ability to lead. So what do you think this is going to lead to?
Larry, it isn't just about the House grinding to a halt. It's that Mike Johnson does not deserve to be vacated. As conservatives, we couldn't dream of having a speaker like Mike Johnson. Anyone who doesn't think Speaker Johnson and his staff are movement conservatives has absolutely no idea what they are talking about. It's not just the challenges facing our country. It's not just a paralyzed Congress. It's that we're lucky to have Mike Johnson as speaker. Have they gotten every decision right? Of course not. But there's a reason that nobody else could get the number of votes necessary to become speaker other than Speaker Johnson. And so what's unfortunate is that we're paralyzed in this moment where you have serious lawmakers like Mike Johnson trying to play offense where the House can do so, trying to elevate the crises that President Biden has created, draw a clear contrast. And then at the same time, you have others, unfortunately, just a very small number in the House who are more focused on getting retweeted and doing small dollar fundraising. It's an unfortunate circumstance. Speaker Johnson is very gracious the way in which he handles this stuff. But let's be very clear. Ted Cruz, Jim Jordan, President Trump, the leaders of today's Republican Party have made clear that they stand with Mike Johnson. And most importantly, Larry, the group that has made most clear that they stand with Mike Johnson are Republican voters across this country. Mike Johnson has the highest approval of any national Republican in the country right now. There's a reason for that, which is that he's a movement conservative. This motion to vacate is a distraction, and it's wrong.
Yeah, Robert, Akash makes a pretty good point there. Also, the Freedom Caucus, I think it's worth noting, has said they will not support this either. So what do you think is really at play here then from Marjorie Taylor Greene's perspective?
I was talking to people yesterday on the Hill. I worked for two speakers, and this is the tightest margin anybody has ever had, probably in history. I mean, when we were with Gingrich and Hastert, we had 20 votes, and that looked like very tight. Three quick points. One, I think there's a backroom deal going on here. I think this is really a discussion about leverage for things that she wants. It's bad when someone picks up a bat in a crystal shop, but that's what's going on. The second thing is, I think one call from Trump would end all of this. I think if he said, "Hey, Marjorie, let's get back in the box for a minute. We got bigger things to work on here." And the third thing is, nobody, I think, in their right mind, including her, wants to see a Democrat speaker. But to be frank, coming back to that one vote margin, we could see a Democrat speaker if you play your cards wrong here. So I think people, wiser minds and leveler heads, probably ought to prevail, and I think they will.
Well, I'll tell you, Robert, if somebody knows about a backroom deal, it'll be Matt Foldy, because he covers the Hill, and these congressmen, they tell him things on and off the record. What do you think, Mr. Foldy? Is there a backroom deal? Especially considering you got to love the speaker. I won't even say her name. That's some pretty good shade.
Which I think is smart, because ultimately this is basically good for the same two groups of people as the situation that got us here was, right? I mean, remember, what do you call a 95%? Now, I went to the University of Chicago, where 97%, where we deflate grades like there's no tomorrow. That would probably be like a B- at U Chicago. But normally that's an A+. And Kevin McCarthy regularly had 97% of House Republicans voting for him. And then, of course, he was ousted to the benefit of the bank accounts in the campaign coffers of a handful of Republicans, and also to every single Democrat in America, and made Republicans obviously look incompetent. Now, those same groups benefit from really this massive waste of time. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been having this sort of proposal floated for weeks at this point and done nothing with it, because everyone realizes it's not actually going to work. Now, I wish it were true that no Republican in Congress wants Hakeem Jeffries to be speaker, but some of these people who are frustrated with Mike Johnson have absurdly said that one of the most conservative speakers of any of our lifetimes is basically indistinguishable from Hakeem Jeffries. Obviously, these people should spend more time in the universe that we live in, because obviously that's not true at all. I don't think that, there's certainly no backroom deal with Democrats from Mike Johnson to say, hey, can you guys, bail me out? Some of them have said that they'll do so. But I don't even know if there is a backroom deal with Marjorie Taylor Greene, if it would be effective, because there have been out of backroom deals. He made her an impeachment manager in the Mayorkas trial, which he didn't need to do. And we saw what that got him. It got him nothing.
Yeah. And Matt, let's quickly go around here, because I will say this. I think that there are Republicans in this majority who are at the very least much more comfortable in the minority fighting against a Democrat leadership than they are sort of carrying the burden of majority and working to keep a coalition together. But let me ask you, because Robert raised it, Trump can call this off right now. One phone call, one text message, it's over. So we'll start with you, Matt. Do you think Trump intervenes and stops this?
I remember he spoke next to Mike Johnson a couple of weeks ago when this was kind of bubbling up. So, and the RNC chairman, Trump's handpicked RNC chairman, Michael Whatley, said he met with Marjorie Taylor Greene and said, hey, let's cut this off. So if he hasn't already basically tipped his hand, maybe he'll formally do it soon, but, keep an eye out for next week. This is basically going to be quashed, is what it looks like. Whether or not Trump formally says, hey, chill out, we'll find out when he decides.
Akash, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Foldy's right. He has made very clear that he supports Mike Johnson as speaker. And let's make one more thing clear. We're in the situation of the narrow majority. It's exactly this kind of clown behavior that resulted in having such a narrow majority to begin with. And so rather than trying to vacate the most conservative speaker in our lifetimes, let's stop whining from the cheap seats and actually start to help grow the Republican majority. That's where the focus should be, of a unified Republican Party.
Clown behavior. You guys are unplugged this week. I love it. Robert, what do you think? You'll have the final word.
Yeah, no, I think he's got a great point. And I think at the end of the day, this is actually more about whether the Republicans think we're a mature party worth another 20 or 30 seats in November. And if we misbehave right now, we're going to look as bad as the other folks, and it'll look stupid.
It's unanimous here on the roundtable. We put our little petty differences aside and we came up with a consensus. See that, House Republicans? You can do that.
It wasn't that hard.